Hi, everyone. I'm Irina Baker, a spiritual self-awareness mentor, and I'm here with my very long-term client, right? She'll tell us all about it. Stacy Aronica. Hi, Stacy. So we're going to talk about the results. We've been working together for a very long time, and I'm very blessed with my clients. So here I am, very blessed with Stacy. And I would like to ask her questions about what results she got from working with me for so many years, and why she's been staying and continuing on a spiritual path. We're talking about the inner journey home to freedom and power. So let's start. First question, of course, I would like to ask you about: where were you before when you started? I know it's 100 years ago. It seems like, right? We started actually in February of 2016, right? That's correct.
Yes.
February 2016. And now it's been long time. So can you tell us where were you before? And then I guess you can tell us why you came. What made you come to me?
Yeah. So I had basically cleaned my slate to start over in a lot of areas. I knew that I was missing something big, but I had no idea what that was. And so one of my friends was working with Irina, and I was hearing on a weekly basis, pretty much, what her experience was like, what her progress was, and she was getting results. And she was explaining to me in a nutshell that it was different from any other spiritual work that she had done. And I wanted that. Because I had been seeking, I had been doing seminars and retreats and reading lots of books, and I had other mentors, and everything that I can get my hands on, I was doing, and it wasn't enough. And I didn't, as I said, I was missing something. I didn't know what it was. So I just felt this pull to also work with you. And so I reached out.
And it's an interesting story with Stacy, because usually how it works, we usually as mentors have to find our clients, right, and offer them and invite them into working with us. And here Stacy she found me herself. She decided on her own. I told her I was preparing the live event at that time, and I said, can you wait a month, and then at the live event you can sign up? And what did you say, Stacy?
I said, no, I want to start now. When I make a decision and I set my mind to something, I'm going to do it. There was, as I mentioned, this pool, and what I call it now is I call it desire with fire. So it's like you have this desire to do something, but it's like your butt's burning, like you have to do it now. And that's how I felt. I've always had intuition, I've always had strong intuition. It's nothing like the mastery that I have now, but I did have it, and I knew that I needed to work with you.
Right. And obviously we can see that it was true, right? It turned out the right decision, because you stuck with me and I stuck with you. So we're good here. Well, that takes me to the next question, by the way. Why did you stay?
Yeah, I stayed because, well, I was getting results. I stayed also not just because of the results, but because, so that same desire with fire that I mentioned, it continued. It was like, I I knew I was on the path. I knew that I was doing the spiritual work, and I didn't want that momentum to stop. So it wasn't just the desire, it was also almost that FOMO, that fear of missing out if I didn't continue, because I knew that I was on this accelerated path. I was going at lightning speeds. I was doing something that was different from anything else that I had done before. And I knew that if I had stopped, I wouldn't be moving as quickly, results or not. And so, yeah, that was one of the other main reasons.
And I think there is a next question that I actually want to ask here. You recently called yourself a lifer. That was not my term. You said it, and in fact, all these years we've been together, I never heard it from you, right? But you continued it, continue. So now you said lifer. What does it mean to you? Why are you a lifer? Is that different, or you already answered? You might have answered already.
Well, to me, okay, like if we think of maybe movies that we have watched or something where there's a student, there's a spiritual student, and then there's a spiritual teacher of, many different kinds. And usually that student is with that teacher for a long time. Because when you're on this journey, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And there's so much to be healed at first. And then even after a lot of healing, there's always going to be growth. And so that's the way that I personally see it for myself, is that it's a continuous spiritual practice and a continuous evolution, that it's not, to me, it's not like signing up for other things. Like I have business coaches. As I mentioned, I've done a lot of that in the past and still do, but that's different. It's like spiritual school, and I feel like I have to continue that.
You said to me, maybe I could remind you that, and you can tell it true or not, but you said that these are your words. I remember one day you said, I feel so much that I am so successful inside of myself with all the growth I've accomplished, that I just cannot stop now. And of course, my heart melts, right? My heart melted when I ask you, well, because you not constantly, but you need to renew periodically, right? When your round ends, you renew. And I ask, well, maybe you want to have a break for a week or so. And what did you answer? You said, no, I am not going. I'm so successful inside that I cannot even miss a week. I have to be there and I have to continue nonstop. Is that correct? Did I remind you well?
You did remind me of what I said. Yes. Yes, exactly.
On a scale from 1 to 10, of course, we don't have specific measurements, but generally over the years, how you came to me, of course, you had your own before, like you said, you went to different places, you developed spiritually already, but where were you before and where are you now? Can you say on a scale from 1 to 10?
Oh, yeah. I mean, looking back now, I don't think I would have said this then, but I was probably at like a 2.
Exactly. So let's stop here, because I want to have it as a teaching point. As you know, I always do. Did you even realize where you were? Because as you see now, right, with all my clients, because you get to witness everybody's growth, because we're all here together, you know that first we think that we are on this high level, we're highly functioning, everything is fine, we're so confident and everything. And then people start coming to me, and then what do they discover? That they were not even close to what they were thinking, right?
Yeah.
So that's what, when you mentioned that's what it was, but because you were not aware. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So a lot of my awareness was was just mental. It was more cognitive. You know, I had learned a lot of spiritual concepts and a lot of information, a lot of really good stuff, but I wasn't connected to it on a deeper level. I hadn't processed, released certain things. A lot of things were still stuck inside, as is with everybody. But I didn't know that fully. I mean, probably on a more soul level, but I didn't know that
Right, mentally,
consciously.
because that's what we do consciously, right?
Right. So I thought that I was in a much better place than I was, which was good because I accomplished a lot more than I expected, right, at first. And so going back to your question about on a scale, well, yeah, I was probably, I don't know, 2, 3 at best when we started. And then now I would say I'm at a 10. I mean, yes, there's still always room for improvement, but the 10 just goes higher.
Right, exactly. It's the growth because we're here on earth. We cannot be perfect until we ascend, but right now it's the growth. And 10 here is a very good number, right, to hear, because it just shows that you have exponentially grown. Right. I remember you said, I had high expectations already when you came, right? Because you already knew how friend was doing. So the friend was changing and she got great results. So you came to me with high expectations. And then what happened?
My expectations were exceeded. Well, they were met and exceeded for sure.
So self-worth, would you say before and after? This is the main thing for women, for everybody, but for women especially, because it looks like, and I know it's true because it's a spiritual issue, women are born with low self-worth, period. Not many women have very high self-worth from the beginning. Maybe they work on it, but not at the beginning. So a lot of women suffer from low self-worth. So how did it change? That's what we mainly do. We change self-worth inside.
Huge change. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that, other than it's similar to what I was mentioning. When you see yourself in situations and you can see how you're handling it, you're feeling it, how you're thinking it, how you're handling it so different. And then you know, oh, it's because the self-worth is very different.
And your behavior, we've discussed it many times, your behavior is automatic in terms of, this is not your mental thing, oh, I should be doing it, but I actually am afraid inside, or I feel bad inside, or I feel inadequate inside. How many times we, with other clients as well, people would be afraid to take a test, or they take a test and they failed, and then after the session they go and they pass it with flying colors. This is just example of how it changes inside. This is not mental. This is not saying, oh, I can do it, right? No, it's actually feeling. You don't say anything, you just behave naturally in a very different way, correct?
Exactly. And that's how you know that the change is really there, is because you don't, a lot of times I don't even notice it until after the fact. And that's a huge part of the work, is that we could, going back to, you know, reading, podcasts, seminars, retreats, all of that, which is all good and fine, they have their place, but you don't know if it's really clicking for real until you feel, think, and behave differently. And when you do all those things on the mental level, there's no way that you can really feel, think, and behave differently. And then when you've evolved, when you've shifted, when you've released and processed, you literally just change. And then you realize it, or at least in my experience, I realized it after the fact. I surprised myself. I just feel, think, and act different. And then I look back and I'm like, wow, okay, I really did change. That was my proof. That's the proof.
That's what counts. You're not doing it mentally. That's what counts. You see it and then you say, oh, wow, I did change. It's true. Right. And I'm sure it's the same with you. I don't remember if we talked about it. When you came to me, obviously you were brave enough, again, I will repeat, to quit your job, to start the business and planning to start the business. So obviously you're young, you still are young, but you were younger at that time, right? You're young, you're full of energy, you're smart, you're intelligent, you have training. So you had everything to succeed. So you were not, but the point here I'm making, you were not even aware how low self-worth there was inside, right? So we all, because I've been like this, the same. That's how I started my spiritual journey. Oh, I was on top of the world. I could take it all on, bring it on, right? And then you realize, because you're doing the work and you're uncovering stuff inside, right? More and more. And then you're saying, oh my goodness. I had a friend who said she's very, very, again, like I described, all the confident and everything, outgoing and everything. And she told me one day, she said, I know deep inside I'm still working on my self-worth. But if you come to me and tell me in my face that I have low self-worth, I'll punch you in the face. We were laughing about it, right? Because really, I cannot tell a woman you have low self-worth, because she doesn't even realize it. So she thinks she's fine, right? Did you start like this too? So, I mean, I did not want to be punched in the face, so I didn't say anything. I let you uncover it on your own.
Yeah. I mean, there's layers there for sure.
Yeah, you are not even aware of it. So in other words, when people come to me, they're not aware of what's inside.
Absolutely.
And then the work starts and the masks are taken. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember at the beginning, so I have always, and anyone listening who's highly sensitive and very intuitive and all of that this could resonate, where I thought that I was so aware. I thought that I was so in touch with my feelings and I knew what was inside, because I've always lived a more of an internal life just by my nature, my personality. But the difference is when we do this work, you really get to the core of it and process and release it, which is way different than just, so the way that I remember it from the beginning is, and this is the best way for me to explain it. I thought that I was so aware and in touch with my feelings, but really I was only going like here, if we're to give it like a level. But then when we do this work, we go like all the way to the core. And so when you're going from here to here, you think, oh my gosh, I'm feeling all this, I'm thinking all this, I'm going through all of this, I'm so aware, but that's like half of it, not even. And then when you really go all the way, then you realize really what's to be deeply or what's deep and needs to be uncovered. And it's amazing because you realize there's a lot of junk in there.
You showed the great visual. This is great. I'm going to remember this here and here.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah,
because this is mindset. People do a lot of mindset work, But mindset is even in the name, mind
Right.
set. The mind is already set. Maybe they're resetting it, but it's all in the mind. It's mental. We go deep. We go very spiritually deep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole nother level. And because I thought that all there really was to it was, I mean, everything to me was like completely separated, even though I didn't know that it was completely separated. I had all this spiritual knowledge, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm an emotional person. I feel my feelings because I always allowed myself to feel, which is very different than people who don't allow themselves. Like they don't even know what emotion they're living in, or even know what it feels like, or ever cry. Or there's people like that, right? But I just thought, oh, I'm fine. I know when I'm sad, when I'm angry, when I'm fearful. I let myself feel it. That's not what we're talking about. This is deep work that, I mean, I could just go on and on, but I'll stop myself before I go on a tangent.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. You did describe it very well. Exactly. Because, and the main point, I do want you to repeat it, because this is so big. And it's not coming from me, because of course I know and I say it, but it's coming from you as a client, right? Not the mentor, as I am spiritual. So you said, you've been in a spiritual world already. You've done it. You went to retreats. You've done all the work, that because you were seeking for answers, and you were not even aware that two worlds did not match for you. They did not meet. Spiritual world was here. Let's read about it. Let's enjoy it. Let's say light and love. Yeah, that's great. But physical, let's hustle here. Let's do physical work, whatever it is. They did not mesh. They did not
I
connect.
have like angel bumps right now, because I vividly remember being in the car thinking this, and also speaking to one of my friends who helped me to get onto the path, which eventually led me to you. But this was more of the metaphysical and mental stuff. I remember reading about these spiritual concepts, and this feelings of bliss and peace and harmony, and all of these things that a lot of them were like books and videos, YouTube, that I would watch and stuff. And I remember thinking, like, I would have these fleeting moments of feeling this peace that they talk about, and this bliss that they talk about. And I would have these moments, and I just remember saying to my friend and thinking this in the car, like very strongly, like, I want to have these moments every day. I want to have these moments for hours. I want to have these moments for days upon days. And they would just be these fleeting moments. And it was actually pretty sad and kind of depressing, which was why I so strongly wanted to work with you, because I knew that it was different. And I have that now. I have hours and days that I just feel that peace, that harmony, that bliss, that connection that I didn't even know was even possible, or where to even source it from. Like, I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't have a relationship with the divine. I read about it, but I didn't know how to get, there was such a gap between what I knew cognitively and what I was experiencing in my life. And I had no idea how to bridge that gap. And so that's what is so cool about working with you, Irina, because we do this deep, deep personal work that our soul, and we call it life stream, but soul, for people listening who relate with that word, that your soul is like waiting for you to do, waiting for you to get on this path. And we do it in the most practical way. So it's like, imagine that, like, you're doing the deepest work in the most practical way. Like,
That's
It's
right.
pretty amazing.
That's right. That's right.